Okay.
Okay, very good. Well, shalom, salam, peace, and merci, kapaya apaan.
Yes.
And so I'm here.
Mabuhay. Mabuhay kayo. Mabuhay. Which
Oh,
is long live in Filipino. Mabuhay, Andre and Ruchama.
uh,
And
I'm,
shalom,
thank
Dr.
you.
Ruchama.
Thank you very much. I'm here to present an emergency plan because we are up against the biggest quagmire imaginable. And I'd like to start with a story from the United States Civil War. It was the Battle of Gettysburg, a vast area of rolling hills. And there was a lieutenant who had orders to stay in place on a one hill, but his men found an opening in the enemy line. So the lieutenant had to decide, what do I do? Should I stay here like I was told, or do I go out and go through that opening? Well, he left his position and charged through the opening and changed the outcome of the battle and ultimately the war. So his action made a difference. And now we have an amazing opportunity because of the global calls for a ceasefire. This is our Gettysburg. I get excited just talking about it. So the plan I propose is simplified to make it happen because everything is so complex. The plan is for women to unite the world, and it's a plan of mobilization and nonviolent direct action, but also it's a plan for a global philanthropic foundation. Non-governmental women leaders are the key, and Secretary General Guterres is a vital component because of the urgency. So I have a formula. It's an operating system that I'm presenting today. And it's the strategy to begin and sustain the movement. So I have a brief presentation, then we can talk about the status and my request for your participation, Dr. Martin and Merci Angeles. How do you pronounce it, Merci Angeles?
Angeles. It's
Angeles.
Spanish.
Oh,
But it's okay.
okay.
Just pronounce
And
how you can because it's Spanish. You know, like
Dr. Martin, is that correct pronunciation?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. So Dr. Martin, I sent you some information, the emergency plan, and Merci, I sent you, and Merci sent you the video from our first meeting. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but I'd like to ask you, what caught your attention? Dr. Martin, was there something that stood out that caught your attention about what the plan, about the plan?
It is not very the operation way, how it will be translated into action. It was not really clear
Okay.
to me.
All right, very good. That's what I want to know. Thank you. And that's what I'm hoping to tell you today about it. So I believe that the war in Gaza has opened an opportunity, but the reason is because it changed the world in the wrong direction towards militarism and division. So people's hearts are hardened, and we want to reverse the direction towards compassion and unity. So the world's in trouble. And this is life and death for the children and the future of the world. So we must act now. And I believe that it's important that the women from around the world now come together to take action. And so it's a plan for the women to take the world stage. So I'll show you that in my presentation and discuss how Secretary General Guterres is the key to it. I've set up the parameters to enlist all the movements, the peace and the climate movement first, then other movements like the youth, the labor, indigenous people, and then unite all the religions and spiritual organizations and the mayors and community leaders in every village, town, city, and every country. And I prepared a business plan to ensure the success that includes the funding of millions and millions of dollars, the operating team, and the largest marketing plan of outreach and promotion ever devised. All that is needed now is for women leaders to come together to enlist other women leaders. That's why I'm here today with you two women leaders. You're the ones that are needed now. So I want to ask you to promote the plan that I'm presenting and be my supporters. So I condemn both the October 7th murders and hostage taking by Hamas and the revengeful killing response from Israel. Dr. Martin, would you please tell me about what your focus has been since the war began and your position on what's happening?
Well, it's a, a big question. I am 100% against the war from the very beginning of it. And it lasts too much. Now it's half a year that this awful war is going on, and I don't see the end of it. This is the worst part, that there is no end. And if things will going on like it's going by now, there will be no end to this war and no end to this killing and starvation.
Yes.
People like me do not have allies.
Yes, we are so divided. I understand completely. And that's what this is designed to stop the war. There's a special segment, but overall, it's much more than that. It's to set a precedent for all time. So it's a formula, it's an experiment, and to begin a global peace movement. And this is the moment women have been waiting for, because women have been uniting already around the world. In many instances in Jerusalem, women wage peace is a perfect example. And that's Jewish and Arab women together. I've been in communication with them. I want to talk to you about that. And then also the women leaders from around the world went to Korea to try and stop the war, the animosity, and bring the people, the North Korea and South Korea together. And so I want to now prepare to show give you some displays about the actual plan and how to sustain it. Before I begin, Merci or Dr. Martin, any questions?
Well, not on my part.
Okay.
We've already talked before,
Okay.
but
So
maybe
I'll
for
run through
Ruchama.
I'll run through this section rather quickly because you may have seen some of it if you watched the Merci, we talked about it, and Dr. Martin if you have questions about any of the displays, we can talk about them afterwards. So I'd like to share and start with the highlights of the plan. The plan is to begin a global movement of nonviolence for the children. The children can be the motivation for everyone to unite. And then we would implement the plan with an initiative called a Call to Women, a worldwide unity campaign. Non-governmental women leaders would ask women around the world to be the first to rise up and unite as the peacemakers, then invite the men. So the plan includes new global peace negotiations led by women. There'd be a global philanthropic foundation led by women. There's a global funding plan and a local plan that offers local application because everyone in every city is struggling with violence. And this is now a plan to change our cultures of violence. So it goes far beyond just a plan of stopping war. And there are local sponsors, and of course, men are invited to join. I have a full outline of all the main elements. There are two major segments, an anti-war plan and the philanthropic foundation. It's a 3-year plan of a 10 and 30-year plan. So we have to think long term. And there's action planned every day. It's a people movement designed for everyone to participate. And it answers the questions, what can I do? And the plan includes the operating system and the business plan, which is all about the leadership and having all the things in place so the leaders can succeed. And also the strategy to begin the movement. And there are 24 major events, one every month, so that people around the world, if they can't contribute, they'll be able to at least, and if they can't contribute in the first major event or the second, they know that there's something following. So it's not a one-time movement. This is designed to sustain itself. It's designed to save lives and to help others. So the new narrative is to commit to nonviolence, to ask the people to commit to nonviolence and the governments, and then promote helping others and working together for humanity. And this creates trust and respect among nations and people. And so it's a plan to stop war and militarism, but also a plan of goodwill. And it's now the moment that women can take the world stage. As I mentioned, it's the time for women to make a difference and to make history. If we have to act now, though, because we may not have another opportunity, our children will pay the price. And it's not just me saying that the women should come to the forefront. Leader in the United States, Billie Jean King, she said, no, this is our moment. It's an opportunity to change the future. This is not for me to be saying, it's for these women leaders and you, Dr. Marton, to promote now a global movement of nonviolence. And Lema Bowie, she's the Nobel Peace Laureate that stopped the war in Liberia using this type of plan. And so I believe it's time to take this plan to its highest level, make it global. And there's a declaration the women would say in a proclamation in the vision, And the women would say that we, the women of the world, ask all men to join us and proclaim that we will not allow war in the world anymore. And we will intervene with every nonviolent means possible to prevent it or stop it. And we do this for the children. There are three main women in the world that I believe can make this happen. Beatrice Finn, she won the Nobel Peace Prize with International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. She can enlist her whole constituency. Naomi Klein can enlist all the people in the climate movement. And Alice Walker, she can enlist all the people. It's not just those women, though. It goes on. This starts a chain reaction. Karen Armstrong, the founder of Charter for Compassion, she can unite all the religions and spiritual leaders. She already has. But now this time to ask the women and the religions and the spiritual leaders to promote a movement of nonviolence. And they already are. Pat Mitchell from the United States is the founder of Connected Women Leaders for the climate movement. It's already happening. But now we can unite under one umbrella. And Osprey Oriole Lake, I love her quotes. She's founded a movement for women to stop the climate movement, and the same as Pat Mitchell. But her quotes it says it all. We are in the fight for our lives, and women, it's time for a fierce, loving call for a global women's movement. We have to lock arms and stand in solidarity. There's the power. Vandana Shiva from India, talking about nonviolence, that it's stronger than violence because it builds the resilience of the spirit. And no power on earth, no force on earth can crush the spirit. Chair of the Elders, Mary Robinson, talked about the urgency that we're extinction level consequences here. We cannot continue with business as usual. This plan I'm proposing is not the usual plan. Medea Benjamin from the United States, co-founder of Code Pink. Her slogan says it all. Women say no to war. And a passion, here's from the high-level forum on the culture of peace, Nobel Peace Laureate Betty Williams, before she passed away, showed her passion.
Love is incredible if we use it correctly. Now,
I'm sorry, can you hear that? Or I forgot to
Yeah,
click one.
We
Can
could.
you
We could hear.
make it louder?
Okay.
my work continues. We've built the first city of peace in the world in the region Basilicata, Italy. They said, you'll never do it. You know, I love it when somebody tells me I can't do it. Because I have to say to them, look, would you move? Just move. You're blocking me. I know it can be done. We built the first.
So I love her passion. Absolutely fantastic. And that's the part of the plan here, is to show the energy and the passion. That's who I am. I want you to know who I am, Dr. Marton and Merci. And so I've designed it for the Secretary General to be a key element right now. There's one last step. And the last step is for me to meet with the Secretary General with women leaders, one or two women leaders, in a meeting with him personally. Or if the woman can't join us, then through a Zoom meeting. And we're going to ask the Secretary General to assemble an emergency peace meeting. That's meeting number 2. Those other people that are in the emergency peace meeting are women leaders, philanthropists, media personnel, and civil society experts. And the main point of the meeting is to show the women leaders that if all those groups come together and provide the funding, provide the media attention, and also then the expert advice from the civil society experts, that the women will succeed in this. Women then make a decision. Should we now take this as our own? I've done what I can to make this happen, to set up all the elements. Now the women leaders, if the philanthropists say they'll provide the funds, there's the main element, because the philanthropic foundation is a key part. It's the constructive phase. So we're showing the people of the world that we're not just stopping war. We're going beyond. And this is ready. The plan is ready. We want everyone to participate. It can start as early as June. The announcement could come as early as June 21st, and start the movement, the first main event, as early as August 6th or in September. And there's part of the startup. There's 5 major segments. I just mentioned the announcement, but there's a special catalyst planned, an awareness campaign. And then, of course, the first main event, and then the follow-up every day of the year. And to announce the plan, you ladies and Beatrice Finn would ask and the Secretary General would ask all the women Nobel Peace Laureates to be the first to announce it. And then following immediately afterwards, Alice Walker and Gloria Steinem from the United States, and the 30 women leaders that went to the DMZ in Korea, and the women of the Global Summit from 2009, and the leaders of Women Wage Peace, and the United Nations, and the Secretary General reissue a call for a global ceasefire that he issued in 2020. It's now that we're asking him to reissue it. So the Secretary General is asked really just to do 2 things. In the beginning is to assemble the meeting, and then if it's successful, then reissue his ceasefire. I've already networked with women leaders from around the world, so they're aware of this. They didn't join me when I first contacted them. They didn't know me, but they've heard of this already. And so when they see everything happening, then they'll join. And as you will know, it's about the children, that the women of their nature is to be the caretakers and to defend our children. We will conquer all. This is a flyer that was on Facebook by a group called Moms Demand Action. And it is a women's organization to stop gun violence in the United States. So I believe that there's nothing currently apparent that is going to change the governments. They're not solving the problems. They're making things worse. It's the patriarchal, militaristic, corporate way of doing things. We need something different and special now, and it's right in front of us. A new global peace movement, a people movement. And if women do not rise up and unite, we lose. This is the time for women wage peace and women crossing the DMZ. It's now time to take those to the highest level. So my immediate objective is to meet with UN Secretary General Guterres. And then the immediate goal is to start the movement. And all the mechanisms are in place. And we have to do this before another terrible event happens. And we must act as if we are first responders, as if our lives depended on it, because they do. Just like Greta Thunberg from the climate movement, she said our house is on fire because it is. So I'm not a doomsayer. I'm an optimist and a planner. This is a formula. And all I need now is one woman at the moment to join, one or two, to join me to go to see Guterres. And then the chain reaction will start once the women leaders take this on. So my strategy to go to Secretary General is to have multiple people contact Guterres to ask him to grant me an audience, because he already has seen my name 5 or 6 times and I couldn't get the meeting. But now I'm ready to go back. So I'd ask the first person that connected me, Federico Mayor, the former Director General of the UNESCO. And then I'd ask Lema Bowie to contact the Secretary General, Beatrice Finn, and others. So how do I get the others? I'm asking Lema Gabowie and you ladies to join me in a Zoom meeting with Mimi Kennedy. She's a TV and Broadway actress in the United States, and she's co-founder of Artists United to Win Without War. It's a list of 30 or 40 very popular and well-known celebrities. And my intent is to connect with 3 main celebrities: Gloria Steinem, Susan Sarandon, and Matt Damon. Matt Damon specifically being a male, but because he was friendly with a famous peace activist from the United States who has passed away, Howard Zinn. And Howard Zinn was my confidant. And so I want to ask Matt Damon to join with me because he is an activist and he'll know what I'm talking about because of Howard Zinn. And then he can help enlist other celebrities as well. But the chain reaction goes then to the major women activists from the United States and around the world, to Oprah Winfrey, Marianne Williamson, who is running for president. She just stopped her run for president, but then there's Karen Armstrong, who I mentioned, Eve Ensler from a group called 1 Billion Rising to stop violence against women, Lady Gaga, and so many others. So I'd like to ask you both to join me in the Zoom meeting, and you would be asked to state specific elements. And then, Dr. Martin, in my letter to you, I asked, are you familiar, do you know Gila Spursky?
Yes. You know what? Yes.
Oh,
I know her.
excellent, excellent. I was in contact with her many years ago, and I've written to her in the past 5 years, but I don't get any responses. Maybe she's not active anymore, but perhaps you could, I'll give you her email address, and perhaps you would be able to ask her to contact me and ask her to, because I have very simple questions. Everyone's busy or whatever their status is, but I keep it very simple. And so then there's a woman I just found out about. She's a human rights attorney but she's from the United States, but she's in Israel, lives in Israel. Her name is Paula Kweskin. And I'll send you information about her also, because she has a new group of women that just came together to do what this is saying, but they're just beginning. They don't have any real set plan. And so perhaps you would contact her. I'll give you the information on how to contact her. And this way, maybe they would join the Zoom meeting as well. Gila Svirsky and Paula Kweskin. Then Merci, I asked about Nolene Heiser from Indonesia. Perhaps you would still consider contacting her, or maybe there's someone else that comes to your mind. And then Ms. Suarez, who you were asked to join with us. She knows two women, Kate Hudson and Lindsay German. Perhaps she would contact them and ask them to contact me so I can explain what we're doing, and then ask them to join the Zoom meeting. There are also two women from the United States, from Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. They are the chairs of the WILF's U.S. Disarm Committee. And they've been working with me on this plan for the past 4 or 5 months. And they would be asked to join the Zoom meeting, and they have been asked, and they have already consented to joining. And then, obviously, contacting the plan to contact Beatrice Finn and Lema Bowie so that they can contact the Secretary General either directly or send the letters to me, and then I send it to Federico Mayor, and Federico Mayor sends it to the Secretary General all together. So that's the main plan, and perhaps there are other women that you would recommend, Dr. Marton. And I have a closing to some elements, but do you have any questions, or what are your thoughts on my presentation? I'll start
You
with
first, Dr. Ruchama. You first, if you want to give any feedback, comment.
It's not very clear to me. How can we stop the USA large donation or giving to Israel so much money and armament that keeps on the war going on and on? If we could stop this money and armament, we could do a lot. But if this is going on, I don't see how practically we can achieve any step ahead.
Yes, that's very astute of you.
I couldn't hear you. Say it again, please.
Yes, that was very astute of you to say that, because that is the major question. And when I first started our meeting today, I said that this is a quagmire, and the war in Gaza has changed the world. We're so divided. There may not be a way to stop it, but I have a plan. And part of that plan is to say, specifically to answer that question, other than the main, because the main plan I just presented is a macro plan with micro elements. But to answer your question specifically, the main objective is to get the people in every country so that we have political clout to show that the United States and Israel and Russia and the people in the Arab countries, primarily. Those main countries, to say that everyone is fighting. We understand the reasons why. But now we want everyone in every country. We're showing you that we are united. And there's the power that might have a chance. Because even if it doesn't stop it right now, eventually the violence will come down and settle down. And that's the time we have to be ready for. So
But
even if we can't stop it right now, because I'll give you an example. I sent a letter to a young woman 3 days ago, and she responded yesterday. And her point of view was the opposite of mine and the opposite of yours, Dr. Marton and Merci. That no, that Israel has to stop this because and stop Hamas right now militarily. We have to get rid of Hamas because, for very logical and strong argument, that if we don't, they're just going to do it again and they'll destroy Israel. So that's a strong argument. There's no question that the people that believe that are not going to change right away. Just like we are not going to change our convictions right away. So my whole purpose is to say that this plan leads to, it's not it doesn't solve all the problems, but it leads to people with opposite opinions coming together. Because after the destruction of their whole country, of all of Gaza, if that's it's almost already destroyed. But how many other countries are now going to get destroyed because of this militarism? That's the wrong way to go. We have to find a way to come together. I have evidence of, let me bring it up again here. I'm going to share my screen for a moment. And, all right, and share screen. Here are two opposites. They happen to be men, but they're billionaires. And one is from the left and one is from the right. And they came together and formed a new institute called the Quincy Institute. And why did they come together? As it says in the headline at the top, to end forever war policy. This article is amazing. And then I have another display to show you about how celebrity and how people of prominence get attention. This was in the Boston Globe, and it was about the climate movement and Prince William and Princess Kate. But this whole article, every single paragraph, illustrates that people, they follow what the celebrities are saying. This is about the power of leadership and the power of unity and the power of nonviolence and women together to do the same thing that Prince William and Princess Kate are able to do. So my answer to your question doesn't give all the answers. It just lays out the formula on setting everything in motion.
Question,
Yes.
regarding the call for ceasefire, your long-term objective or goal, in fact, it's a mission level statement, a global ceasefire, no? But on your part, and I mean, it's only three of us talking now. Are you willing to risk that if we make that this, well, of course, initially, whoever will be invited and whoever will participate, are you willing to say that we call for a ceasefire in Gaza? Because if you do that, definitely among all these peace and anti-war advocates and activists, and even among feminists, we know that there are divisions. Dr. Ruchama, of course, is very much aware that even among feminists in the West, and as you're saying, there's this young woman who favors what Israel is doing. But because the point is, and I think that's what also Dr. Ruchama wants to strike at is, we cannot, for me, no, and I'm saying it directly now, there's so many divisions in this world. I am interested, I've attended these meetings to start working with you because I believe that we unite and call for the participation of as many as possible, but we cannot get them all. There will be, and Dr. Ruchama, I will add, and maybe you are familiar because I've talked to you many times about situation in the Philippines, but it's also the same, I know, globally, that nonviolence is actually not attractive to many people, even activists, because they already, I mean, I will not make a judgment here. I'm just stating that there are already activists who, when they hear the word nonviolence, they don't like it because maybe their experience has led them to believe that the only way to end the war is somehow to use a violent form of struggle. And in my work here in the Philippines, there are so many of them. That's why I'm already, it's good to be laying this down from the beginning. If you're calling for a nonviolence global peace movement, no? Immediately you and we, well, of course, Dr. Ruchama and I also, we have already incurred enemies and critics about this. But there'll be many people who will have an adverse reaction. So, but I guess, of course, you're going to say you have already encountered that also.
Yes. And, but that is a very important part of this. Thank you for bringing it up. Because originally, when I first started this, by the way, I started right after September 11th in 2001, when I saw that the military was going to be used by the United States to solve the problem. I thought that was terrible and it was wrong. They could have used a different tactic. The whole world was showing empathy and sympathy to the United States, and it was all dispersed because we used military. That's the male way of solving the problems. So to respond to your concerns, when I first started this, I wanted it to be proactive because then it has a chance. And I knew and was saying that all along that something bad is going to happen that's going to make this just about impossible. And so when the war started and I realized that now the disaster is here, that we really probably aren't going to get this to happen right away because until the violence subsides. So my first letters that I sent out said, when the violence subsides, we have to be ready. So maybe this won't start right away, but maybe the announcement that it's coming, just starting the chain reaction of women organizations around the world to bring this together, that might be the only way that it can happen. But I believe the Secretary General is important, and here's why. And this will change things. I hope, is that the Secretary General, when he first took office, there were a lot of people that wanted a woman as the Secretary General. And he realized it, but he won the election. And when he won, he said, I'm going to make sure that I show that I'm interested in what the women are saying. And half of the staff of the Secretary General is women. And he also started an organization within the UN for gender parity. But most importantly, the Secretary General, when he first took office, his main thrust, and he stated that one of the main objectives was peace. And this might not be able to stop everything right now. And the people that are divided, they're not going to join us right now, but they'll see that it's happening. That's so important for the children of the world, because just like when any war ends, there's reconstruction, there's as in South Africa, there was truth and what's the term that they use?
Truth telling, is that the one?
Reconciliation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reconciliation. And but the Secretary General wants, right now, he's approaching the end of his second 5-year term. And he wants his legacy to be involved, to stop war. So your questions are and analysis is exactly correct, that we have to stop the money, Dr. Marton, and stop the sending of arms. And now there's a lot of action around the world for a ceasefire, but what they're missing is the follow-up. What happens once there is a ceasefire? And they don't have that plan. This is the plan that has to be in their hands to be able to see that there's a plan ready to go for people to unite, for the children's sake, to come together. That's the philanthropic foundation. The majority of the funds of the philanthropic foundation is an illustration that this can work, that there's where we have to devote our efforts. Because after war, there is reconciliation, as in Ireland and in South Africa, that it can happen in the Middle East. We have to show that we believe in it, and women can make it happen. Right now, this is the moment.
Well, I don't see how we can stop not only the United States. United States is first place, but there are many other military regimes that support Israel, and not only Israel, with heavy money and armament. If that is not stopped, the war will going on. This is the first step that I need to see how we can be practically achieve this kind of target, because this is the main one.
And the last part then of this of the plan, and perhaps the most important, but a major segment, is the fact that Gandhi and King proved that not just adhering to nonviolence, but to promoting nonviolence as the goal. That's what I bring to the table. But then there's civil resistance. There's non-cooperation, nonviolent direct action. The women of the world will be asked to commit to nonviolence and to commit to nonviolence, civil disobedience, civil resistance, non-cooperation, nonviolent direct action. And it's going to be hard. It is a risky situation. People will be asked to sacrifice, and the leaders will have to be involved. So there are women leaders now that are calling for action, but they don't have the plan. So with all the macro elements that I talked about, and the micro that goes with the philanthropic foundation and bringing everyone together. The key again still is nonviolence, because our children's lives are at stake. And there's going to be then women leaders, not the ones that I mentioned, but the ones that are up and coming, that are on the ground working to make this happen. And that's why I'm asking Lema Bowie from Liberia, because after the war stopped, she was interviewed, and I studied that interview. And in that interview, she said, whenever war comes up again, I'll be ready to be on the front lines with those women. Now she's been many years as a peace laureate, and she's ensconced in working for good things for women and for children, not just young girls, but boys and girls in Liberia. Her foundation is fantastic. And she may not be on the front lines, but she'll ask the people to be on the front lines. And that's what the women leaders, this is what it's all about, is leadership. And that the leaders, this was my thought when I first started this. I realized the power that if women came to the forefront, they could change the world and set a precedent for all time. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is to say, let's get these women leaders together. Then it allows for the up and coming women. It allows them to come up, to be working in the trenches, to be nonviolent. And so the women in Russia, the women in United States, the women in Israel, the women in Gaza and the West Bank, unfortunately, they probably don't even have any connection with the outside world now. There's none. So that's why this is so difficult, because they can't even be involved right now. But-
One more, yep. One practical question. You're talking now of your steps, including coming to visit the Secretary General with with women leaders, and also this meeting of women leaders. The practical question is, have you already started to raise the funds for that? Because, if you're going to invite, for example only, if Dr. Ruchama would agree to come with you to travel and meet whoever, no, but meet somebody else, are you able to raise the resources for that? And also the meeting, like Peace Women Partners, we have already organized 2 international conferences. We know how much resources you need. That's why I was asking you earlier, are you ready also to organize a secretariat, talking to people, women in particular, but anyway, whether male or female, you're talking to people from different countries, and then asking them to come together requires a lot of resources. So
Yes.
are you also preparing for that as part of your plan?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. Yes, I have been working hard on the preparations for raising the funds. I have everything lined up. It's all dependent upon how now this Zoom meeting with the TV celebrity and Lema Bowie and you women and the others that I mentioned. As soon as the first element falls into place, I'm ready to raise the funds. And that's just the seed capital. And the seed capital answers your question about all those things that you said, all the expenses to bring people together. That's what I've prepared the budget for. Then for the philanthropic foundation, I have the plan to raise the funds all in one action. And happened because when I went to the Secretary General's office the first time, I realized I don't have everything in position, but I know how to get it. And therefore,
When do you plan to start the philanthropic foundation? Given you have, of course, this is all tentative, but assuming that the meetings in your first 3 steps are conducted this 2024, how long before the philanthropic foundation follows?
Then it would start, so there's why there's time between the meetings and then the announcement. There's time before the first event. And in that first 2 to 3 months before the first event, that's when the philanthropic foundation would all come together. Because there's a lot of work involved. I
Yeah.
just was speaking with my advisor, and he's a specialist in nonprofits. We talked about all those elements that are needed. We're ready to go. So
because you know, like you're talking of for me, one concern also, let it be noted, because we are really trying to help you work out to make this plan reality. For me, it's good that you have you're getting the attention, you're talking to all of the big names, personalities, actors, actresses. That's good, I think. But we should not be forgetting the grassroots, because that will be the real foundation. No, if you talk of women, the women in the front line, like even politicians, actors, etc., they could say good things for the non-violence movement, but it's really the women on the ground. And we're not even mentioning Africa yet. No, like women in Africa, women in Southeast Asia, and of course the women in the territories where there are actually ongoing wars. These are all the women we need to reach out to. And again, I will speak from experience, and Dr. Ruchama knows. No, sadly, if you have no resources to reach out to them, then it becomes all lip service. Because to develop the women leaders, you will need to, and that's where your philanthropic foundation could come in. One of the major activities you will need to conduct is reaching out, helping to organize women, training, seminars, to develop more women leaders who are sharing the philosophy, the principle of nonviolence. You know, I mean, because I'm looking at this long term with you. And sadly, because of course it's our experience, every step of the way, you will need the financial resources. I'll be very direct, no?
Yes,
Of course, I know I believe that you have the capacity for that. But just from my end, raising that first of all, I would suggest invite them to a face-to-face meeting, no? And then you will need the resources. Can you invite her and send her a plane ticket? You know, this is what we're talking about here. Because in the end, the Zoom is good, but it's really not the best way, you know, of course. You don't want to Zoom with the UN officials.
yes.
You want to meet them face to face.
In the budget, I have plans for plane tickets. Yes, I have taken that into consideration. And the grassroots, when I first started, my first observation was that the grassroots organizations are everywhere. And they're trying to unite. It was evident to me, the peace movement was trying to unite all the different factions with human rights, with labor, with women, with all the different facets of our society.
But there's a challenge, Andre. Like, for example, I'll just give an example in the Philippines, closest to home. We have 3 islands, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. We have so many good women leaders. We have so many organizations. But now, for example, now, I want to go to Mindanao. I want to talk to the women leaders there, and I have no plane fare. No, I mean, it's that simple. Sadly, this, and I speak from personal experience, volunteer work is really not enough. We need the resources, no? Because the grassroots, like, can you imagine if you're going, like say me, and this is my experience, I call a meeting of 20 to 30 urban poor women leaders, good women leaders. I spend for my transportation. I go to their community, and when I'm there and we have a meeting, and when it's time for lunch, I realize I have to feed them. Yeah, yeah.
I
That's why
understand.
that's
I've been
why
there.
I don't go so much. Like if I go to Mindanao and call the women leaders, they will ask, "Oh, we don't have the transportation to meet you." So these are the very practical challenges which we shall encounter. And because you are right, and I see it, no, and of course the Peace Women Partners, we have members in so many countries, but so hard to get them together if you don't have the resources.
So I have in as part of the planning process, I tried to take that into consideration as best I could. And so the manner in which to address those concerns is that the people in every community will be asked to start their own branch of the foundation so they can raise funds in their own community. Then
But that is not possible in Israel.
n-
Sorry,
not here right now, yeah.
I need to leave our meeting.
Oh, okay. And-
So it's impossible in Israel, for example, to raise sources for non-violent
Yes,
approach.
that's
It's
right. Right now, it's,
out of question.
I understand.
But I'm so sorry. It is so interesting and it is so important. But I need to leave.
Yes,
So maybe we need to fix another time. It's over 1 hour, and I need to go.
sure.
I'm sorry.
No, I understand. Thank you for joining. I'll send you an email and with the woman's name and information about the human rights lawyer, because you are a specialist in human rights. And then also a suggestion for our next meeting, we'll have another meeting for 15 to 20 minutes, and that's it. Maybe tomorrow, or I'll give you a couple suggestions.
Okay. So I need
Thank
to leave.
you. And
Thank you
Thank
very,
you,
very
Dr.
much.
Ruchama.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. And I'll talk to
Thank
you by email also and chat. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye. Shalom. And Merci.
Well,
let's have-
almost dinner time here, but I can still stay.
Yes, well, I think right now, let's plan our next meeting, yes. Because just to address, you and I have a meeting then to address your concerns. So I can show you that I can show you the budgets and all that information.
Sorry about, sorry about talking, me talking about budgets.
Yeah,
But
well,
I'm already looking, as Dr. Ruchama said, the plans are on a macro level. But for me, since I'm a practitioner in
Yes.
projects,
so
I'm already looking at the micro.
So let me assure you that the plans for those are included to address your issues. And then we have to, of course, fine tune. That's
Of course.
so rather than spending money on the budget that I have now, because I know you're busy with your own things. My job is to try and simplify it and expedite your time. So if we have a Zoom meeting, we'd be asking you to just say, yes, you believe in this project.
Yeah.
And then, and that the details will be able to be confronted so that it's adequate for the grassroots to operate. Now the people like Dr. Martin said in Israel, they're not going to do that. So I understand now that's the dilemma. That's the problem
But
that the war has created.
that's why your approaches, because for me, I want to see this global nonviolence movement for children in particular. I want to see this stand up and grow. But we have to accept that for each country, that's why you will go back. I mean, it's like when you're already planning the details, like for Israel, no, Dr. Rook, and it's good that you're talking to someone from Israel inside, no, because she's in the best position to tell you what they can do. Remember also in Myanmar during our March 16 webinar, for security purposes, our women from Myanmar they're not saying they're going violent, but they are sort of hinting that that's the point. They're supporting those who are resisting the military junta. So I mean, it's again, you cannot just talk to the women of Myanmar directly about non-violence because they are under a very violent military junta. That's what I'm just saying, that eventually, if we want to get the broadest support, participation, there's a sort of a fine-tuning the call because we want to engage with them, no? So, but anyway, these are, for me, that's how I think, no?
Yes.
The details.
So
Mhm.
let's stop now, but let's
Yeah.
when we begin again, it's to say that there's a starting point. Once that's my objective, I said it in the presentation that I want to meet with Guterres is my immediate
Mhm.
objective, short-term goal. And then my immediate goal, though, is to start the movement, because once it starts and it spreads, then even at least it started. And then it
Yeah.
may take on a life of its own, because then those things, those problems will be solved if we start the movement.
Yeah. I'm glad that Dr. Ruchama took her time to join now. And for me, I really suggest, of course, it's you, because I work with Dr. Ruchama in my organization, but for you to continue working with her, because she can be a really good global spokesperson, with her being an awardee of the Right Livelihood Award. And also by now, she's not afraid of anything anymore.
Yeah. What was
And,
the award again? What was the award?
the Alternative Nobel Peace Prize, the Right Livelihood Award, in I think 2010,
Oh,
Dr. Ruchama
Would
was
you-
awarded.
would you send me an email and write that out?
I will email you the brief profile of Dr. Ruchama
Okay, yes,
tonight.
please.
Yes, and then just one more thing before we leave.
Yes.
I'll be traveling to South Korea on Saturday.
Okay.
I'll be there. Actually, it's more we because this is what we do. We have this solidarity tours with the women. We did it before, but this particular visit is more of just, like visiting, because after COVID we were not able to travel for a while. So I'll be 10 days in South Korea next week, also meeting with some women. However, the network, the internet is very good. So I think we can still talk even while I'm in Korea. And in fact, if you want, I could also start talking with our women, women friends, no? Just but of course nothing official yet. Just telling them that there is something uh brewing.
Yes, that would be perfect.
So for me, since as of these days I usually work from home, any schedule, but again it's really Dr. Ruchama's time, which is important. I will agree to the time that she's available, and it's really my suggestion. Dr. Ruchama is a very good resource person. That kind of woman leader who can really go out. No, of course, given that there are also constraints because she's based in Israel, but maybe she can still travel.
All right, excellent.
So good night for me. Good morning to you. It's taking more shape now, and get used to me because I'm into projects. So I always ask the questions. Bye bye.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.
Good day. Good
Bye-bye.
day to you. Bye
Peace and
bye.
love.
You too. Bye bye.